January the 24th, the year 2020. You are now riding with the Digital Diaspora. We now ask the ancestors for permission to move forward to venerate them. Reginald Lewis, Ibaye. Madam C.J. Walker, Ibaye. Jeremiah G. Hamilton, Ibaye. Dr. Patricia Bath, Ibaye. Dr. Otis Boykin, Ibaye. Charles Brooks, Ibaye. Phil Brooks, Ibaye. Mary Van Britton, Ibaye. Dr. William Warren Cardozo, Ibaye. Mamie Clark, Ibaye. And Kenneth Clark, Ibaye. And I am your host, Ali Babatunde, and we are now riding on another episode of the Digital Diaspora. And Nunu, Queen Nunu, she couldn't be here today, and we have someone filling in for her. We have our co-host who decided to drop in for the day, Ms. Crystal Dotson.
Hello.
Very good, very good. How are you doing, Crystal?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. You know, we can't spar back and forth the way me and Tanu do.
Yeah.
I got to be nice to you right now, and I'm nice to Tanu too. So I don't want to get it twisted. You know what I mean? We got to keep you on board just in case Tanu does what she does. But Crystal, special guest of mine, she is actually my yoga instructor.
Yes.
My yoga instructor, and I think that she got some other stuff going on. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Ms. Dotson. Matter of fact, let me ask you a question. Are you related to an alpha named, they call him Frosty Dotson?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay, that's my fabric. I got the same last name. That's a unique last name.
Yeah, no.
Very unique last name. But give us a little something about yourself, because that's what got us communicating. So let me know what's going on. Let the people know what's going on.
So I actually ran into you in Newark. Was it a year ago?
It was not necessarily. We ran into each other at the
Zucchini Bar.
Yeah. And then we did it again
at the health fair.
Absolutely.
For the men's health fair.
So
Newark,
appropriate.
Beth Israel. Yeah.
So appropriate. But go ahead.
But my business is Envision Wellness. I'm a wellness concierge, and I focus on 9 dimensions of wellness to help people get holistically well.
Right.
So yes, I do yoga, I do personal training, stretch therapy, I do wellness events. And some of the events I've done in the past have been paint and sips, where I've brought wellness vendors, massage therapists, henna artists, healthy food, musicians. So it's a holistic experience.
Got you. So what's the big event that we talked about that I said that you didn't think of that as soon as I asked you? You must have had that in the back of your head. So what's the big thing?
Well, that was the idea of Martin Luther King Day meditation, and that's
no, not that.
No,
one? The podcast.
Oh yeah, of course. Yes. The
Yeah.
podcast. You have been invaluable so far, and
Great.
Just getting information about how to approach taking from what I do on a larger scale onto a show where it's just my voice and it's not my face. So, but yes, the Well Nest is in production. It's coming soon. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. There you go. Well, I'm going to initiate you into what we do, into what me and Tanu do on the Digital Diaspora. This is a ritual that we do at the beginning of each show. What we do is we venerate the ancestors. In a lot of African cultures, the ancestors are the apex of community. So what I usually do, I try to tie in some ancestors that are relative to the shows that we do. So today, I mentioned Reginald Lewis. If people don't know who Reginald Lewis is, Reginald Lewis was the first African American to create a $1 billion business in the United States. There was TLC Beatrice. That's I read his book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? And he was on the cover of Black Enterprise. And I remember that as a child growing up. And I think that before Puff Daddy, that he may have influenced a generation of individuals to make money.
My dad had us read that book.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So that's what that's about. Madam C.J. Walker, we all know who Madam C.J. Walker is. And her name is actually Sarah Breedlove. Her name is Sarah Breedlove, but she went by Madam C.J. Walker when she became an entrepreneur. At the time, she was worth about $600,000 before she died, which is equivalent to $10 million today.
Go ahead.
Jeremiah G. Hamilton was a Wall Street broker, and he died back in 1875, but he was a Wall Street broker back in the day, and they actually found him on a boat in Haiti, right outside of Port-au-Prince. They were going to kill him. And somehow he evaded death, made his way to the United States, and lived in Brooklyn, and was worth a few million. I'm talking about back in 1875, the latter part of the 19th century. I remember that name. Jeremiah G. Hamilton died in 1875. We have Dr. Patricia Bath, who was also included in our last ritual, in our last show, episode 8. She died last year, and she was an ophthalmologist, and she actually created the mechanisms to deal with surgery when you're removing cataracts from the eyes. All these are African people. You know what I mean? Dr. Otis Boykin, he created the artificial heart pacemaker control unit. He died in 1982, not too long ago. And I think, personally, this is one of the most important outside of Reginald Lewis. Charles Brooks. Charles Brooks, who died in 1865, the latter part, matter of fact, almost the mid part of the 19th century, he created the street sweeper. He created the street sweeper. So when you see the garbage men out there, whatever, always know that our people had a part in actually creating that. You know, the street sweeper. Died in 1865. Phil Brooks, he was the first U.S., he got the first U.S. patent for the disposable syringe. He created that. Mary Van Britten, she actually created the home security system.
Nice.
Who knew?
Nice.
Who knew that an African-American woman actually created the home security system? William Warren Cardozo, he did the first major study on sickle cell anemia, and some of the information and some of the research that he produced is actually still relevant to this day. Mamie and Kenneth Clark, I had to include them. They're psychologists, and they were responsible for what? Somebody better tell me in here. We're going to blow this whole place up.
Oh, do it.
What is she responsible for, people?
Go on, tell us. Don't hold us in suspense.
Nobody knows? Nobody knows? You don't know? Nobody knows? They're responsible for the black doll test. Remember? Kenneth Clark, right, the black doll test. Right. Which dog is the, right.
Okay.
They're responsible for that research. So that's the deal. So again, you're riding with the Digital Diaspora. And of course, we got our guest host, Crystal Dotson. And we're going to do our thing, but we also have to give veneration to one of my heroes. And by here, you know who that is. You can just cue that up. And we always play that before we really start getting in and doing our thing.
I wish to get across before we start anything. I am not here to debate with anyone. I have devoted all of my adult life to this subject. I only debate with my equals. All others I teach.
Got you. We're back, and we are back. And let me just fix my Michael Lamont tie. Hint, hint, Mike. Hint, hint, Mike. I'm coming to see you to get the tie I got this weekend too, brother. But you know, we're always repping for the brothers and sisters that are on our team doing their thing. So we got a lot of stuff going on today, not a whole lot going on locally, but we know that we have a whole lot going on nationally, and the biggest thing right now is the impeachment trial of Donald J. Trump. And I'll say this, in a world, there's not a bizarro world, his goose would have been cooked. It just so happens that he has all the right pieces in all the right places. And it's almost disrespectful, and it challenges the intelligence of the constituency. And what I mean by that is 2 days ago, while Trump was over at Davos, we're going to go into that a little bit today too. While he was over there, somebody asked him a question about the impeachment trial. And his response was, well, the Democrats don't have anything. We have all the information, and we're not going to let them get that. Who says that? Who actually says that? And if you look at a lot of the neighboring countries and not so neighborly countries, they wouldn't stand for that. But we have our president, who's actually in, where's Davos at, Kenny?
Switzerland.
All the way in Switzerland. You're literally telling the world how incompetent your citizens are. For you to blatantly say, hey, man, they don't got nothing because we got everything. For you to be as brazen as you are to say that is really disrespectful. And it's disrespectful to everyone, but it's mostly disrespectful to those that support you. It's mostly disrespectful to the constituents that come to your rallies, that come to support you, for you to say that, because what you're saying is you're not intelligent enough to know the hustle that I'm running down on you right now. You don't even realize it. The constituency doesn't even realize it. It's disrespectful, and it's sad.
Yeah.
And kudos to Adam Schiff. Kudos to Congressman Schiff. If I was in high school or if I was an undergrad and I was warned with what I wanted to be in life, looking at Adam Schiff, I would want to be an attorney. Between Adam Schiff and Hakeem Jeffries, who gave a big shout out to Baby. Okay? Hakeem Jeffries gave a shout out to Biggie Smalls on the Senate floor. Historical. He did that before too, but that's historical. During an historical impeachment trial, he gave a shout out to Big. So shout out to Hakeem Jeffries. I think he has some relationship to Dr. Leonard Jeffries. Shout out to him, a Newark native. But it's just really sad. It's really sad, and there's so much going on in the world right now that it's just crazy. Then we got this whole coronavirus, and I think that the only reason I remember that because of Corona beer. It's easy to remember what kind of virus that is, but a coronavirus. You familiar with any of the coronavirus?
Yeah, but it's not just one virus. It's actually a family.
A culmination of
family.
viruses, right?
And
right.
we get them regularly. I mean, you might have it like once in your lifetime or maybe multiple times, like the common cold.
So I might have had coronavirus.
Yeah, well, you
one
have
time.
it anyway.
Okay.
But the ones that we know that are the most famous are the MERS, the SARS,
Right,
and
right.
now this one is being dubbed to 2019-nCoV, which just stands for coronavirus, but
Right.
2019, we'll call it 2019.
Got you.
So
So
yeah.
I got it already. All right.
Well, you don't have 2019.
Yeah,
Come- if you do, I would leave the room.
we all be
We
leaving
would
the
just
room.
like, bye, lock you in here.
Well, what they're saying too, what they're also saying is that most of the times it's transferred from animals to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they
Well-
say that it might be due to the bat soup in one of the towns. Wuhan.
Some.
Okay.
So like, it has to become, well, actually, the bat was probably more SARS, but now
Okay.
they're also saying like anything in the marketplace in Wuhan. And now they said something about snakes.
Wu-Tang?
Wow.
You said Wu-Tang?
Wuhan. No, Wuhan.
I know. I
Wuhan,
just
Wuhan.
playing.
You know what?
Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang. Dave Chappelle.
Wu-Tang!
Wu-Tang. No, but I knew it was Wuhan. I'm just messing with you. Wow, that's crazy.
So they're not really sure which animal might have done it, but don't touch any animals there, and then
And
come back to the
don't
US.
eat bat soup.
Don't do that too. Yeah, don't. Well,
Still eating bat, and they got pictures. They got pictures of like a broth with a bat inside the soup like this.
Yeah.
well,
Well, things mutate.
Yeah, it's cultural,
too.
right? Yeah.
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 Mutation.
That's
Sometimes
crazy.
you gotta eat what you gotta eat.
Yeah. But you don't. But you know what? I don't think they have to eat that. You know what I mean? But you know what? That's being a little ethnocentric. So you're right. You're absolutely right. Let's get off that horse. You're right. One other thing too is the whole issue with the echoes. They're talking about changing the money. See, that's why Africa's getting it together.
Yeah.
Most people would be of the mind that, they're confused. They don't know what's going on because the English-speaking African countries are beefing with the French-speaking African countries, quote-unquote Francophone countries. But that just says that, hey, man, listen, we're going to work this out on the ground level before we really get it together. So that's a good thing. But I think that it also begs the question of us understanding that we need to relate to, them, and then we need to piggyback on that, is to relate to our indigenous languages. Because there's no way that someone who is of the ethnic group Yoruba that can't speak Yoruba.
Yeah.
You should be able to speak Yoruba. If you're from Ghana, you should be able to speak Akan. I'm learning Yoruba. You know what I mean? So the reality is that that's going to distinguish where you go. Just like in China, 98% of the Chinese believe that they're Han Chinese. You know what I mean? So they believe that they come from one group of people, a civilization state. So that's why they're so cohesive, and that's why I think, this is just my opinion, Dylan, reading the book When Asia Will Rule the World, where he talked about the fact that, with them believing they're all Han Chinese and doing things as a collective, that's the only way they're going to win. And I think that the Berlin Conference, which Dr. Kwao talked about, did its job. Yeah. So now it's about fixing that. It's about fixing that issue. So we're going to get to that point where we fix that, but that's where the cultural marries where we need to be with regard to economics when it comes to investments. I think that that's where we need to go. Yeah. So that's a big thing. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm running my mouth, and I didn't. It's actually here, the Eco Crisis Deep. This is from a Nigerian newspaper called the Premier Times, and they say Eco Crisis deepens as Nigeria and other English-speaking countries condemn French-speaking counterparts. So, and I learned this from Dr. Arthur Lewis, who was the doctor, Dr. Joseph Biankinen. I learned this from Dr. Lewis. We look at these things, and the first thing that comes to our mind, we're doing so bad. But that's not necessarily the case, because think about it. 10 years ago, these countries weren't even talking about doing any of this. Yeah. So now they're doing it. So now they're communicating at least. They're trying to make a decision as far as where they're going to go, where they're going to go with all this. And now my page is not going up. Why not? What's going on? Okay, it happens. In any event, there we go. Okay, there we go. They said Nigeria and 5 other English-speaking West African countries have condemned the decision of the French-speaking counterparts to unilaterally rename the CFA franc as ECHO by 2020. The Premium Times reported the decision of the French-speaking ECOWAS members who have the support of France to adopt the change of name. The 6 countries issued the condemnation at the end of the crucial extraordinary meeting of their ministers of finance and governors of the central bank on Thursday. They met in Abuja under the West African Monetary Zone on the ECOWAS single currency program. You know what's so good about what I just read? The fact that they even met in Abuja and didn't meet in London.
Yeah, that's critical.
Yeah.
Didn't meet elsewhere. And I
met
think
on
that
their home
I just read where the president of Rwanda.
Can I jump in?
Yes,
here?
sir. Yes, sir.
It's symbolic too.
Right.
It's symbolic
Right.
because you're talking about a change in system.
Absolutely.
So you're breaking down the old system that was in place, and you recreating that with a new system.
That's right.
And that's critical when you look at the locations
Right.
of these things.
That's right.
And the fact that they're looking at pulling away from the French, because
Yeah.
you know that the French receive so much amount of money from these
500
African
billion
nations.
a year.
It's ridiculous.
500 billion a
It's
year.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
You have to
I mean, they
reclaim
can-
your own.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it's
Yes.
coming. And it's coming. And I thank God for Dr. Arthur Lewis for actually helping us see things that way. The countries that are against that, the English-speaking countries that are against that are Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Liberia, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone. So I have faith in the fact that they're going to get it together. I have faith in the fact that they realize that we play an important part in that. year of return. Nigeria next year, door of return. Benin next year, gate of return.
Wow.
So they're understanding that these things, this coming together. So it's just up to us. It's just up to us next. You know what I mean?
But Benin is critical because you have Mansour Musa, who was the wealthiest person ever.
And we got to
So,
recognize that
right.
history,
The
right? And we
history
have
behind
to,
that.
right? We have to
Yeah.
make all that one. We have to understand to look at the history, make that a part of where we're going, but also be innovative enough to say, "Hey, listen, that's where we're going. That's where we're going." And I didn't get into the introduction of our guests, but we need to know what's going to come after G5 technology. We need to know about blockchain technology. We need to know about this echo currency. We need to know about all of these things because I don't care how much you say that you're a cultural naturalist or whatever, you're going to have some knowledge about these systems. You're going to have some knowledge about all of this stuff. Cut and dry. So I think we're going to move on. We're going to move on. We're going to go into our next song, Freedom Now, by my I had a crush on her before she passed, Abby Lincoln, the jazz singer, from the name of the same album, Freedom Now. We're going to listen to that a little bit before we come back, and we're going to introduce our guests. You are now riding with the Digital Diaspora.
Whisper, listen, whisper, say we're free. Rumors flying, must be lying, can it really be? Can't conceive it, can't believe it, but that's what they say. Slave no longer, this is Freedom Day. Freedom Day, it's Freedom Day. Throw those shackling chains away. Everybody that I see says it's really, truly free.
Yes, sir. You are with the Digital Diaspora, and I am your host, Ali Babatunde, and I'm here with my co-host.
Crystal, Vimjin Wellness.
And we have a very special guest in here today. All of my guests are special. This one's a little more close to home. We share the same alma mater, and he is the managing principal of Jeanesis Capital Markets, independent capital markets and risk management advisory firm, targeting government service entities, multinational corporate, cross-border mature small and medium enterprises, and investment capitalists, and fundraising, lead generation, executive sourcing, and foreign direct and outbound investments, FDI and OBI. I don't even know what that is, but I'm pretty sure it's something special. Initial public offering and Trans-Pacific Partnership, advisory in several industries, fintech, innovation and technology, artificial intelligence, we're going to touch on that a little bit, advanced manufacturing, robotics, energy, renewable solar, high rail, transportation, freight shipping, healthcare and life sciences, and cultural services, arts, entertainment platforms, and education. Ken's regulatory and capital markets experience spans over 20 years. Okay? He also worked at the Japan Financial Services Agency's International Policy Department. How long did you live in Japan?
Japan, total 7 years.
He lived in Japan for 7 years. Served on both the Asia Basel II Working Group and Tokyo Capital Markets Seminar Roundtable with central banker and industry experts. First American to be on their stock, to work on their stock exchange.
Tokyo Stock Exchange.
Working at Tokyo Stock Exchange. While working at Tokyo Stock Exchange, Ken monitored Japanese government bonds on the trading floor and was part of the IPO listing team. They used a triangle merger scheme for the City Nikko cordial deal at Tokyo Stock Exchange. Still speak the language?
Yeah, still speak the language.
Still speak the language. He was the first non-Japanese to monitor JGB's front trading floor. Ken has also worked at Japan Died and participated with major foreign assets managers and banks regarding the $1.3 trillion Japan postal reform system build out. MBA from Temple University, and you also completed, what was that? You completed because that was a part of your degree from Johnson C. Smith University, right?
Oh.
The, what is it? The Reconnaissance Japan Student Exchange Program at Oberlin University in Tokyo?
Yeah, I was blessed to be the first to go to Japan for JCSU.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's give a warm African salute and hand clap for Brother Kenny Goodwin.
Oh, you got the hand clap.
Hand clap, brother, hand clap.
Honor the privilege, man.
First of all, again, and I said this the last time on the last meeting that we spoke with, that it requires a lot of discipline to do what you did because people are so interested in going in other directions, and they don't know the discipline that it takes to actually deal, and how lonely it probably got too, being in a space where you might have been. I'm pretty sure you had Africans from the continent, but being an African American, it's a little different. I don't know. You tell me.
It was definitely being anytime when you are about to trailblaze, or you're at that point where you are at another level.
Right. That's right.
You're gonna be alone.
Absolutely.
You're gonna be by yourself. You mentioned about the ancestors.
That's right.
The spiritual connectiveness with your ancestors are the ones that help you to deal with all these situations. And I think that's the importance, is knowing that you may be alone, but you're not alone.
That's right.
And so for me in Japan, I always felt my ancestors were around me. And one of the first things I learned is that we as Africans, we have the ability to speak multi-languages. Mm-hmm. And I saw
it's
that.
In us. That's right.
It's in us. Yes.
That's right.
I saw that in the streets of Tokyo. So you have brothers and sisters of African descent who are speaking Japanese fluently. And everywhere you go on this continent, you can go to China, they speak fluent Mandarin. You go to France, they speak fluent French. So it's in us innately to speak multi-languages. We are the creative languages.
That's right.
And I kept hearing that with my ancestors constantly, over and over again. I struggled a lot in Japan when it came down to Japanese languages, but the sound of the language, the music, right? You go back to music, right? Because languages is beat.
That's
it's
right.
Sound.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that the ancestors kept repeating back to me. It's like, you got the sound in you. And if you're able to hear it first, then you can reduplicate that in language. And that's what helped me in Japan.
Wow. Amazing. And you know what? That needed to be said.
Yeah.
That needed to be said. So we're going to jump forward because I want to get as much as we can in with the time. Blockchain technology, are we too late?
Never too late.
Because we know that blockchain technology was developed back in 2009, and here we are. It's 2020, so we're talking 11 years now with this technology.
It's still evolving.
It's
still evolving.
Talk to me.
It's still being progressive and still being formed. We're never late, so you still have the opportunity. You and I know this. You went to the first urban and blockchain that we did. We created the first urban and blockchain, which basically gave us an opportunity to share information.
That's right.
Very
informative too.
And it was great.
As a matter of fact, you know what?
It was great.
Just while we're talking about it, just to kind of pause for a minute, I don't want to shake the table too much. This is the book that I picked up from one of the people who came out to this seminar, The Truth Machine, the Blockchain and the Future of Everything by Michael J. Casey and Paul Vigna. They actually said that that was a good book to actually to kind of learn more about.
Well, here's the.
I gave him a ride home from Brooklyn that night. Yeah.
Well, is a bias because I know Michael Casey personally.
Right.
And Michael, when we did the first globally local blockchain last year, Michael was my speaker. Mm-hmm. He was my lead speaker and my curator. He was my lead speaker and my actual moderator for the event. Michael and we did the first Bahamas in blockchain. So we were invited by the president of the Bahamas to go down and speak on blockchain. So I spoke on many panels in the Bahamas because the Bahamas, they just launched their new digital currency.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Recently.
You know what?
Yes.
And that's deep.
That's
And it's something, and
Yes.
I can't really say because, of course, I'm dealing with a non-disclosure. That's like I mentioned G5 technology because there's technology that's all I'm going to say. There's technology that's coming. And we got a lot to do with that. And so I'm not going to mention it, but in any event, you're right. And I'm not really that surprised that Jamaica is actually on board with that. We're like I said earlier, we're starting to get it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, you have the Bahamas, you have Bermuda. Bermuda is definitely on board. Jamaica's on board. You know, of course, Africa is essential behind this. This is why you saw the CEO of Twitter, the CEO of LinkedIn. He was in Africa as well as Jack Ma. Jack Ma from Alibaba, the wealthiest Chinese person.
Right. I've seen the picture of him. Right.
And they went to Africa not because, wealthy people don't chase money.
Yeah.
It's not in their nature to chase money. Wealthy people chase human capital. Right? Intellectual capital is much more important than money. It's the intellectual capital that creates the wealth.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. It's not wealthy people don't chase money. They attract money.
Yeah.
The energy you have attracts money. So they're
Drop
going
it.
after intellectuals who are
Drop it.
able to
Drop it.
Yeah.
engineer and create
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies
Yeah.
and a new ecosystem. So they know where the source is coming from.
Right.
It's coming from Africa. So mathematics and science is embedded in us.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right? The universe is behind math, zeros and ones.
Right.
Science, right, is in art form, right? Science is how you be.
Yeah.
It's the being, right?
Yes.
So when you look at science, you look in terms of health, wellness,
Yes.
right? You look in terms of plants,
Right.
Right? That's all science.
Right.
So we are the creator of this.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this to kind of go even deeper. We know that blockchain is resistant to modifications to data, which data is almost as important as water now these days. Give me a general understanding. We know that blockchain is like creating new ecosystems. You explain a little better than me. I mean, I'm kind of learning it, but what is blockchain and how could the layman get more involved in that technology?
Well, one, I love the fact that you have Michael's book. I mean, there's other books out
I had it for a
there.
while.
He's great with the book, but there's blockchain for dummies that's out there. That's
Right,
actually, and
I've seen that.
I'm biased because Kiana Danielle, who's the author behind that, was also a speaker at my event, and I know Kiana personally. I mean, she's a great. I'm not actually going to be writing my own book, but it's not in the way of Michael's and Kiana. But the way to break down blockchain, think of it two ways: cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, which is distributed ledger technology. Cryptocurrency is what you hear with Bitcoin, Ethereum. That's actually slightly different. So a lot of
Right.
people, what happens is they confuse the two and they think it's the same. But it's actually, it's cryptocurrency and the technology. Distributed ledger technology
Right.
is, let's say that you, as well as yourself and myself, we are in this room together.
Right.
It is driven by data. Data is important.
Right.
So the ability to be on a platform and say, I'm going to be exposed. I'm going to expose myself to you. I'm going to expose myself to Ali.
Right.
And I'm going to do this with data. I'm going to let my data be free. And I'm going to do it where it's not centralized, meaning that
Right.
there's nothing there that's to stop us. So there's nothing in the middle. It's just you and I direct. It's direct, what they call peer-to-peer, or in some case pay-to-payment, but peer-to-peer, direct decipherment of information that flows between you and I, as well as you and Ali. And we all on the blockchain, we all can see it.
Right.
So there's a level of transparency.
Right.
The key behind that is trust. Remember, data is gold. So data is gold.
Right.
Data is gold. Your data, your information is critical.
Yeah.
But you have to trust. So with the blockchain system, you have a level of trust. Now, the reason why it's important because the speed, efficiency, speed. If you don't have any walls, you're able to do transactions a lot faster, a lot more efficiently, a lot faster. You're able to backtrack to see where it originate. And that is the blockchain distributed ledger technology. Now, how you apply that is a different conversation.
But so is there less corruption? I
Well,
would say, is there less corruption in the exchange?
here's where the corruption's at.
Okay.
A lot of the corruptions that I've seen is usually, well, you have conflict of interest. You also have corruption, but the corruption may be caused internally. So let's say you are the engineer of that distributed ledger. So now you have access to your data, my data, right? You have
Right.
access, and that's where usually the corruption occurs.
I got you.
Now the key is the application of it. It's a tool.
Yeah.
So how do you apply it, right? Do you
Right.
apply it to, let's say, in the case of, and we're going to talk about this with Akon. He's doing his big city behind that. He's using distributed ledger technology. I think he's got to use a combination of things. He's got to use artificial intelligence. He's got to use computer programming. He's got to use multiple different types, deep learning, machine learning. So it's not just going to be blockchain. It's going to be multiple different technologies where he can build the city.
Nice.
Well, let's jump on that for a second. The artificial intelligence, and I know we talked a little bit about artificial intelligence and how it relates to the continent of Africa. Build on that a little bit.
It's I'm gonna every
If you can,
I will.
if you can.
I will be very transparent because this is actually it's public information. So with AI, artificial intelligence, we've been working with the second largest brewery firm in the world, AB InBev, which they own Budweiser and Corona. They mentioned Corona.
Right, Corona, right?
Right.
Corona's the topic of discussion today.
Right. And they actually just announced that they're going to use AI for their entire platform. So they're
Wow.
which is global. I mean, it's a global platform, global operations across multiple continents that sell beer, right? And their ecosystem includes the actual farmers, the distributors, all kinds of individuals and functions that's involved in this. AI, here's the unique thing. The machine learning and deep learning is what we're used to hearing.
Yeah.
That's what we're used to seeing, right? We're used to seeing that with Alexa, I believe.
Yep.
Alexa is kind of I would call that maybe first or second generation.
Yeah.
Third generation is what they call artificial general intelligence. And third generation is critical because if you hear Elon Musk, he speaks a lot, the gentleman from Tesla, Elon
I'm
Musk.
glad you brought that up because I was going to say I hate the fact that I didn't see the interview with him and Joe Rogan. Because Marcus Stevens always says, yo, man, you should listen to this. And I never did. And here it is today. We're talking. And I knew it was going to come up.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going to have to eat crow and say, you know what? Before we talked about that, I really wish I would have looked at that interview. So, yeah.
It's profound because the only way you can get to space is that you have to have this level of intelligence that's matching what they, if you believe in aliens, that's matching another external intelligence in preparation from that.
Deep.
So very, very deep. And that's coded, what I just said.
I got it.
It's very
Trust.
coded.
I got it.
So you going past third generation and above gets you there. Artificial general intelligence takes the place of your mind. It's cognitive theory. So it's the idea of taking that data and creating a personal assistant that'll not only do the work that you do, but also probes you to get as much information, because now you're no longer considered to be an individual.
Yeah.
You're considered to be a source of data.
Wow.
And because you are a center source of data, everything connected to you is also sources of data. You see the speed behind
Yeah.
that.
And you need all that in order to get out into space.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And
That's deep.
here's we've been advising the firm I'm called IEGO.ai. The father of that is Peter Voss. He's the father of artificial general intelligence. The gentleman is a brilliant guy, 90-year-old gentleman. I've been very blessed and fortunate. This is how I got to learn these things.
Wow.
I mean, I got to
Wow.
learn these things. Part of it is is the ancestors guiding me, but part of it is the responsibility. When you sit at these tables, you have to say to yourself, "Why I'm here," and it's not because for yourself.
Right.
It's never because for yourself. Because in order for it to be if it's by yourself, it's going to end. Right?
Yeah.
So it's
It
got
has to be a collective effort.
a collective effort.
Absolutely.
And you have to give it out to everybody.
Right.
So what helped me with this was Charles Smith. He used to play for the Knicks.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
Charles Smith had an event at NASDAQ that we did. We helped Charles Smith. And we brought in this gentleman, Peter Voss from IEGO.ai. A 90-year-old gentleman who wanted to raise capital in New York. Brilliant presentation on what AI was. Unbelievable presentation. And that was my way of learning artificial intelligence through one of the best. So I got very fortunate. And there's another story about me learning blockchain. I got fortunate about learning blockchain through one of the best too. So that to me spoke more to me about sharing information to the public. This is why we did last year the globally local blockchain fintech AI conference. It was everything we do is coded. Everything we do is structured. It's all connected. There's 144 trillion stars in the universe, and they all sing to each other.
Yeah.
So they singing back to our God, and it's all connected.
Wow. Wow. Another thing. Let's go. How much time we got left by here? Because he dropping drinks right now, man.
Yeah.
15. Okay. Let's play just a little bit of the next song, just to keep to keep us relevant with the station. And I want to go into I want to touch Susus a little bit because we had the Susu thing going on. I want to touch on that a little bit, but then I also want to get into where we going and how do we do that as a collective. All right, so we'll play the Doug Karn real quick, but let me tell you why that's deep.
You make my heart sing, rejoice, rejoice. Let all the bells ring for little B. You are my heart's delight. You make life sunny and bright, little B. You were all my heart sings for before you came and brought us such joy. How we hoped and prayed that you'd be a boy, but little girl, you are my heart's delight. You make life sunny and bright, little B. You are all my heart sings for.
And yes, we are back with the Digital Diaspora, and I am Ali Babatunde, and I am here with our lovely guests.
Hey, I'm Crystal from Vision Wellness.
I caught off guard. I say, hey, I'm Chris. He's like, oh, hey. But Chris, did you have a question? Because I'm hogging up the time. I don't want to feel like I'm hogging up the time. What do you want to ask?
I wanted to ask, how can blockchain help businesses? Specifically, hey, how can it help my business? So what is some things that I have to consider?
Okay. One, taking your business being in wellness, right? Now, do you use supplies? Are you using any kind of supplies that help you? I would
Yeah.
imagine wellness is more mental, right?
Yes, I mean more people oriented. So I use vendors a lot. So not necessarily supplies in terms of products just yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is actually perfect because you have social connects. She's got a network,
Right.
and one of the things that you can do is you can create your own blockchain system
Okay.
where you have members join,
Okay.
and they would join and they can get information about you. I'll give you a prime example. Who's doing this now? The point guard for the Nets, Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
Dinwiddie is taking a bit of his it's gonna be very hard for him to do this with the contract.
Yeah.
Because he's got to deal with the NBA Players Association.
Wow.
And,
Well, playing for them, he got a deal already with them.
Well, he's got because the goal of the NBA Players Association is to make sure that your pay is fair, and it's done in currency. Now he wants to do this in digital currency,
Oh,
which
wow.
is completely different.
Yeah.
Now what he's really trying to do is he's trying to get followers to follow him. So his avenue of wealth, his cash flow, right? You want multiple streams of cash flow. His cash flow is not just from the NBA, but his cash flow is his identity. His identity has value.
Wow.
His brand.
Social
Right.
capital.
Yeah.
Social capital, right? So he wants people to follow him, and in return of following him, they can get some kind of reward,
Gotcha.
and that's the token. The token is that reward. So that's your blockchain right there.
Gotcha.
That's extremely. I should charge you for this. I just literally designed something for
You say you
it.
designed something for it?
I just but I gave you an example
Yeah.
of something that's live, that's working, that's potentially working, that you can be inspired to use to create your own. Get
Gotcha.
yourself
Gotcha.
a very good lawyer, get yourself an engineer to help you to design it yourself, own it, and then get people on your platform.
I like that. Yeah.
Another
Thank
question, real quick. You know that we had some, and Civ is on, and Sully D is on. We had some kind of success with the Susus. I think in terms of being able to utilize the Susu and to see how it worked. And I did it. I think I did it 2 times, two or 3 times. I forget. I think it was good, but I think that where we got stuck as a group with the Susu is the fact that we didn't have a long-term investment goal. So that kind of clipped us a little bit. What do you think that we could actually do different when it comes to the Susu investment and taking that? Because remember we were talking, we did it, and it was good because during my time I got my cash, great.
Right.
How do we take that further to make that bigger and better than where we're at?
How are you with your values? I'm going to take something that I just finished reading a book by the Salesforce founder, Mark Benioff.
Okay.
And he has what they call V2 MOM. The vision, value, and the MOM is measurement, opportunities, and I can't think of the other M. But the value and the vision is very important, right? So, and I'm going to take your Susu.
Right.
And instead of just making a Susu that's one-time investment, think of it as long-term as a fund, right? As a social impact fund. The beautiful thing that we have two of our loveliest, beautiful queens. I'm going to give a shout out to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, you a shout out Civ and
I love
Sully.
them to death. I love them to death.
Absolutely, my peoples.
I love them to death
Yeah.
because the one that we were just talking about support,
Yeah.
and I said it gets lonely at the top. It really
Absolutely.
gets lonely
Yeah,
at the
you ain't gotta
top,
tell me.
and you get a lot of stuff. People throwing stuff at you, but they've been so consistent in the journey with me.
Right.
So where I'm walking, I feel like they're walking with me. And to get back to the Susu, think of it as a social impact. The areas of needs are women, right, in terms of their entrepreneurship and
Right.
their investment,
Right.
and people of color. So now you create a fund, right, a social impact fund that invests in startups that needs capital.
Yeah.
So now you become owner. See, the
Yeah.
challenge that we have
True.
as people, we think
True.
you got to go back into the basic assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. We were trained as people to think assets.
Right.
Owner's equity. Owner's equity is the key, more so than assets.
Nas did it. Jay-Z did it. They
It's-
got these startups.
right.
We just get the Marcy thing where he's investing into startups. He's investing into the cookie company.
Yep.
Nas got all kind of startups where he's investing into these. But you're right.
Right.
You're
So you
absolutely
create
right.
a portfolio of your own of
Yeah.
small startups who need startup capital.
Right.
And you actually, and here's the beautiful thing about doing that. You not just get the capital, but you also help them to grow their business.
Yeah.
Right.
Work with them. Don't just give them the money.
Yeah.
Work with them and help them to grow their revenue. As they grow their revenue, their valuation goes up.
Absolutely.
You see the trade-off here? It's a trade-off here.
Gotcha.
And that's the best that we can do. That's the best that we can do as people.
We're going to do a Civ and Sully. We're going to do it again, and we're going to consider what he's doing. So instead of taking that grand, when our time comes around, maybe we'll take half of it and take the other half and invest into something. And then you talking what? You talking a nice little piece of change. We need to get back on that. I think we need to be consistent with that. Two more questions, unless Crystal has a question too.
Keep it going.
One, why the hat?
Oh, yeah. That's a good question.
That, a lot of people think it's not Make America Great.
It's not making American great. Future of origin,
Right.
debt.
The future is now.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Right.
That's
So
right.
we're talking about the digital diaspora, and
That's
that's
right.
the future.
That's right.
The future is now. So this hat is meaningful. When I first went to Davos, this was the hat.
What is
that was-
Davos?
Davos, the World Economic Forum.
Right.
And I've been blessed. Every year, I was telling Ali, every year I get a chance to go every year to the World Economic Forum in Davos.
Right.
And the first time I went, I got a chance to meet Robert Smith.
Right. And Robert
And-
Smith is the one who paid off all those the
Yep.
debt for the Morehouse graduates, just
Oh,
to
yeah.
let you guys know.
And it was a humbling experience because Davos is humbling because it's a small town in the mountains. So it's hard to get there. It's hard to get there. So when you're there, you're very appreciative that you're
Right.
there. But the wealthy people, billionaires, don't think in terms of arrogance because what happens is the next person could have more money than you, could
Yeah.
have more influence than you. That social capital is critical. They're there for relationships and networking.
Yeah.
That's the key because social capital will give you more capital. If you get your social capital right, you don't have to have 100 people. If you got 5, 10 people, the right people, you will meet your targets.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Good money.
And that's what we have to learn how to do. We don't have that yet. I mean,
Right,
everyone
right.
talks about
We're
social
getting there.
capital.
Yeah.
We're getting
Right.
there.
We're getting there, but
We're
you're
getting
right.
there.
We don't have that yet. And you know what? And I hit you with the last question because I don't think we got that much time left. But I hit you with the last question. The last question basically is, where do we go from here?
Where do we go?
Where do we go from here?
Where do we go?
What do we do next?
I love to work with you. I want to work with you too. I think we have to be, for us, we have to be open. I'm going to rethink this one here. I'm going to be, this is actually a good time.
Yeah.
I think so too.
This is a good time.
No, I think so
This
too.
is a good time.
And that's why I asked,
And that's why I
because-
had to stop.
Right.
And I had to feel,
Right.
I had to appreciate
Right.
what they were telling me.
Yeah.
They were telling me something. on that
Absolutely.
one. They were saying something to me on that one. As tight as it may seem, this is actually bringing us back to our origins.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? The whole notion of going back to Africa, the whole notion of understanding our languages, the whole notion of bringing us close to science, math. We're going back
Yeah.
to the origins, and we have to be open to that. Now, in the process of doing that, your journey, you have to be very aware of who you allow
that's right.
in your journey.
Yes.
It is so
Absolutely.
critical. It's so critical because
That energy piece is serious.
It is serious. You got
Types of energies you allow to occupy the space that you're in is serious. And you really need to consider who you have around you.
And we're so powerful in
Ab-
that. Like, we hold so much potential. We're already there. We just have to crack it open, and people would take
Absolutely.
advantage of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's how those wealthy billionaires think.
Yeah.
So it's a change of your mind, right? So if
Right.
I change my mind and I think millionaire only, I don't think million. I
Right.
always think in billions. I mean, I've been. It's in my spirit. I think in trillions. I see numbers in trillions, and so your mindset and your energy, who you allow in that space, is critical for your journey. So be very strategic.
That's right.
With who you allowed in your space. Not everybody, if you look at, I'll give you an example. If you look at, I love LeBron James, what he's been doing. But LeBron James, he travels with the same group. And when he travels, like he was here at Harlem, he was doing some work with bicycles and with the YMCA. A lot of people don't realize that, which was beautiful. He used that time and space to do that.
Absolutely.
And he did it alone.
Right.
So there's going to be times when you may think you by yourself, but your ancestors are with you. So where we take it from here to finalize it is that be strategic with who you have. Find the right partnerships.
That's
You're
right.
not by yourself. There are people who've done it before or who have a little bit more experience, and they will help you to get to where you envision to be at.
Absolutely. Well, that was as intriguing as I knew it would be. We're going to bring you back.
Yeah.
We're going to bring you back. We're going to continue this discourse. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I hate that other people weren't able to take advantage of listening to this. They didn't know that I wasn't going to have it on my page anymore, that it's on the Digital Diaspora because I'm moving forward. But please check us out. Please continue to support. And again, continue to ride with the Digital Diaspora. Thank you.
When I'm down, I just draw some roses on a pretty piece of paper with my recipe long pencil. Halfway through, I feel so much better. I imagine